Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So if you remember, about a month ago I bought this control panel from a car boot sale for £10, which again, you know, every time I look at it I'm just amazed at the fact that I paid 10 quid for this whole thing. So it's got a 24-volt power supply, a PLC logo, Siemens one, which is an old one. It's basically a very basic PLC, and then it's missing, I think, either a relay, a timer or something along those lines, and then it's got two contactors, some lights, a buzzer, yeah, and some terminals. I mean, it's honestly just an amazing purchase. I would have paid, you know, 5 times that amount for it. So in my last video I was actually able to just power it on and make sure that everything worked. Now I want to get into the PLC, and so this is where it got difficult for me. So I was able to put the PLC, well, firstly I bought the USB cable that you can see here, and I was able to put the PLC into run mode, which meant then that I was able to press some buttons and get the contactor to fire in. That buzzer was also buzzing as well. Every time I connected it, it would just start buzzing away. So I knew that everything was working, but I had no way of uploading the program because it was password protected. So I just had to just wipe the PLC clean and then just start again. So what I did was I went on Paint, using my multimeter. I started tracing as much of the circuit as I could, and I ended up with something that looked something like this, where a bit of a rough drawing, did it quite quickly in 15 minutes. So I kind of have an idea now of how the thing's supposed to work, and what I really wanted to try and do is, in this video, I wanted to get my outputs working and my inputs working. So I wanted to make sure that I can detect an input by pushing a push button, see that on my program, see that on the PLC, and then also at the same time be able to fire out output. So I already knew that the contactors, especially the contactor on the left, I knew that that was wired, because when I loaded up the program, I pressed the button and it would fire in a contactor. So I knew that that was wired correctly. I had those two orange wires on the right on Q4, which I couldn't get any output on. So I swapped those wires out, put 24 volts onto the output, and then I was able to actually connect in both the LED. I managed to trace and find both the red and green LEDs on the front of the door, wire those into the output, and then using the PLC logo software, can't remember what it's called, but it's a different logo soft, something like that. Logo Soft Comfort, that's the name. I was able to use that software to just write up this very quick ladder program, which basically just says, when I press input 1, firing one contactor. When I press input 2, fire another contactor, which is, you know, the two buttons on the door. Press either one of those, firing a contactor. And then I just made it so that when you press input 1 as well, then it will also just turn on output 4, which turns on these LEDs. And to be honest with you, I was quite, I mean, this took me a month to do, kind of on and off. And I didn't want to disturb the panel too much, but as you can see, I've kind of, you know, pulled out a lot of wires, and I'm committed to making this panel be useful. I really want to commit to that, because this is my first panel that I've ever owned, and I would love it if I could, you know, mount this somewhere and really do something with it. No idea yet, absolutely no idea what I could use it for. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you have any ideas, please drop them down below. No idea what I could use this for, but now that I've got the outputs working, I've got the LEDs turning on, so I know I've got inputs working, I know all my outputs work. I'd love it if I can run something using a contactor. So obviously a contactor takes 24 volts to fire in and out the coil, and then that coil is basically like a relay switching main, so 240 volts on and off. So, you know, one of the ideas that I have, which I'm not going to do because I need my fan, it's bloody hot in the UK right now, I'd like to maybe cut off the plug of one of my fans and then feed the wires into the contactor and then see if I can get the PLC. Oh, this is a good idea actually. So what if I attached a temperature switch or a thermostat to an input and then just whenever it got hot, turned on my fan? That wouldn't be a bad idea. Now, that would involve ruining a fan plug, but that's not the end of the world. Yeah, anyways, any ideas, something like that, I'm going to go with something like that. So yeah, hopefully in the next video you'll see me switching 240 using a contactor, especially because, so one of the well, I know both the contactors are wired in the sense that the 24 volts fires them on, but I don't understand the wiring of it yet. So I'd like to just, you know, tinker with that and get a 240 volt device onto the end, wired into that contactor, and get that contactor working. So yeah, that's my next video. Thanks for watching, guys. You know, 10 quid, bloody very well spent, innit? 10 quid, incredible. All right, see you guys soon. Take care. Bye bye.